Most people over 60 are told the same thing. Do a crossword puzzle every day. It sounds sensible. It sounds safe. But here is what nobody tells you. A crossword puzzle alone does not protect your memory, and it does not protect your independence. The Lancet Commission on Dementia reviewed the evidence across dozens of countries. Their conclusion was that around 45% of dementia cases worldwide are linked to risk factors we can actually influence. Nearly half of it is not written in your genes and not decided at birth. So today I am giving you 5 drills that fit inside one 7-minute block, built from the training methods memory researchers actually study. And I am going to explain the one thing about memory that almost no appointment has time to cover, which is why a puzzle you are already good at does very little for you. The number 1 item on this list is something almost nobody talks about, and it takes 2 minutes. Stay with me until the end, because that one can change how you approach the next 10 years. Here is the problem with the way memory gets handled right now. Your appointment is 12 minutes long. In those 12 minutes, your doctor has to review your medication, check your blood pressure, look at your last set of labs, and answer whatever you came in for. There is no room in that window for a training protocol. So what you get instead is the short version, which is stay mentally active. That is not bad advice, but it is not a plan. And your brain does not respond to advice. It responds to specific, repeated, difficult work. I want to be clear about something before we go any further. I am not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. There is no brain pill at the end of this video. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover. And the stake here is not memory in the abstract. It is whether you can still manage your own medications at 82, still drive yourself to see your grandchildren, still handle your own bank account without somebody standing over your shoulder. Memory loss does not take your life first. It takes your independence first. Before we go on, tell me in the comments how old you are and what city you are watching from. I read them, and they tell me exactly who I am making these for. Now here is the one mechanism behind everything in this video, and it is called cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is not how much you know. It is how many different routes your brain has for getting the same job done. 2 people can carry the same amount of physical change in the brain tissue, and one of them functions perfectly, while the other one cannot follow a recipe. Think about the roads in your town. Imagine there is only one road that goes to the hospital. The day that road floods, the whole town is cut off, because there is no other way through. Now imagine a town with a dozen small side streets running in the same direction. That town loses one road and barely notices, because the traffic simply moves over one street and keeps going. Please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows. A crossword you have done for 30 years is you driving the same road you have always driven, while every drill in this video is you building a new side street. That difference is the whole video. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button so more seniors can find it. Let us start the clock. Item number 5 takes 90 seconds of your 7 minutes, and it is dual task walking with backward counting. Walking feels automatic to you, but after about 65 it stops being automatic. Your brain starts spending real attention on staying upright, and that attention has to come from somewhere. Picture a house with one electrical circuit. The moment you run the heater and the kettle together, the breaker trips because the line was never built to carry both. Dual task training is how you widen that line. So walking and thinking stop competing for the same circuit. Motor training and thinking training done together have been studied heavily in fall prevention research over the last 15 years. Large reviews consistently show that older adults who train 2 tasks at once handle real-world walking better than those who train walking alone. Here is exactly how to do it. Pick a hallway in your home with a clear floor and something solid within arm's reach on at least one side. Walk at your normal pace and count backward out loud from 100 by threes. 100, 97, 94, and keep going. Do this for 90 seconds, 5 days a week, at the same time of day. When counting by threes stops feeling difficult, usually after 2 or 3 weeks, switch to naming a category out loud instead, like fruits that begin with the letter P. The mistake almost everybody makes is going silent when the counting gets hard. And the moment you go quiet, the drill has stopped working. If your balance is uncertain, do not do this in open space. Do it along a kitchen counter or a hallway wall, with your fingertips brushing the surface the entire time. You can also do the whole thing seated, marching your feet while you count, and you keep most of the benefit. Stop immediately if you feel dizzy, if you feel lightheaded, or if your feet begin to shuffle instead of clearing the floor, and sit down before you decide anything else. Pair this drill with the timing of your blood pressure medication. Many of those medications cause a drop when you first stand up, so running this 30 minutes after your dose rather than 5 minutes after keeps you steadier on your feet. If you take anything for blood pressure or for your heart, talk to your doctor before changing when you move. But here is what dual task walking cannot fix. It trains your brain to carry 2 jobs at once, and it does nothing about how fast your brain takes in what it is seeing in the first place. Speed of seeing is one of the first things to fade, and that is exactly what item number 4 rebuilds. Item number 4 is another 90 seconds, and it is a visual search sprint. This one comes out of the largest thinking and memory training trial ever run in older adults. There is something researchers call your useful field of view. It is how much you take in around the point you are looking at, in a single glance, without moving your eyes. In your 30s, that field is wide. By your 70s, it has narrowed, often without you noticing at all. Think of it as a flashlight beam in a dark garage. A wide beam shows you the whole floor at once, while a narrow beam makes you sweep the room piece by piece, and you trip over the thing you never lit up. The trial is called the ACTIVE Study, funded by the National Institutes of Health, with more than 2,800 older adults. The group trained on processing speed held their gains for years, and later follow-up work found they had less trouble with everyday tasks like cooking and managing money. Hold on to that phrase, everyday tasks, because item number 1 is built entirely around it. Here is the home version. Sit at your kitchen table with any page of dense print, a newspaper page, or a page of listings. Pick a common letter. The letter E works well. Then start at the top and cross out every single one you find, moving as fast as you possibly can. Do this for 90 seconds by the clock, 5 days a week, and write your total in the top corner of the page. Every week, you are trying to beat your own number from the week before, and that number is the entire point. The error people make is going slowly and carefully, because accuracy is not what you are training here. Speed under pressure is. Do this with your reading glasses on and a bright light directly over the page, not behind your shoulder. If small print strains your eyes, print a page in large type instead, or use a paperback with generous spacing. If you get a headache, if your eyes start watering, or if the words begin to swim, stop for the day. This drill should feel mentally tiring, and it should never feel physically painful. Pair this one with your eye examination. When was the last time anybody tested how fast you see, rather than how well you see? Uncorrected vision is one of the risk factors international dementia research keeps landing on, because a brain starved of clear input has less to work with. Still, all this drill does is speed up what comes in. It does not build new wiring, because you are still using pathways you already own. Item number 3 is the one that forces your brain to lay down something it has never had before. Item number 3 takes 60 seconds, and it is a new hand sequence. This is the drill that looks silly and does far more than it has any right to do. Your brain builds new connections most aggressively when it is doing something it cannot already do. A familiar task runs on wiring that is already finished, so nothing new gets built. Think about a path across a field of grass. The path you walk every day stays worn and open, but it never gets wider and it never goes anywhere new. The only way to get a second path is to walk through grass that has never been flattened, and that first walk is uncomfortable on purpose. Research on movement learning in older adults keeps finding the same thing. Learning an unfamiliar movement pattern produces measurable change in the brain within weeks, and the effect is strongest when the pattern is just slightly too hard. Here is the sequence, and do it with me right now. Sit down and rest both hands flat on your thighs, palms down. Tap your right hand twice, then your left hand once, then both hands together once, and repeat that as a loop. Do it for 60 seconds, 5 days a week, and count out loud while you do it. Once it feels smooth, which usually takes about a week, make it harder by reversing it. So left twice, right once, both together once. The mistake is staying with it once you are good at it, because the moment you are smooth, the drill has stopped building anything, and it is time to change the pattern. This one is safe for almost everybody, because you are seated the entire time. If you have arthritis in your hands, tap with a flat open palm instead of your fingertips, and slow the tempo until it is comfortable. If one hand is weaker after a stroke, tap that side against your thigh through whatever range you have, and let the strong hand match the weaker one for speed. Stop if you feel sharp pain in a joint, because sharp pain means stop, not push through. Pair this drill with music you have never heard before. New movement and new sound together demand more from the brain than either one alone, and you are already sitting there for the 60 seconds. Put on a station you would never normally choose, and let the pattern fight the rhythm a little. But a hand pattern lives in the movement part of your brain. It does not touch the part that reaches for a word when you are standing in a room full of people and the name will not come. That is a different system entirely, and item number 2 goes straight at it. Item number 2 is 60 seconds, and it is a category naming sprint. If you have ever had a memory screening, you have already done a version of this without knowing what it was measuring. Your vocabulary is not stored as a list. It is stored as a web, where every word is tied to the words that live near it in meaning. Think of a library where the books are not on shelves, but hanging on strings, each one connected to the ones it relates to. When you cannot find a word, the book is still in the building, but the string you used to reach it has gone slack. Naming words in a category, fast, against a clock, is you pulling on every string in one section of that library at once. Category naming is one of the standard measures clinicians use when they assess memory and thinking. It is used precisely because it is sensitive, which means it moves early, and anything that moves early can also be trained early. Keep that in mind because item number 1 is where all of this finally turns into memory you can actually keep. Here is how to run it. Set a timer for 60 seconds and pick one category, and animals is the classic one. Say every animal you can think of out loud as fast as they come, and do not stop to judge whether it counts. Write the total on a piece of paper, then run a different category the next day. So animals, then fruits and vegetables, then countries, then things you would find in a hardware store. 5 days a week, 60 seconds each time, and once a month, you come back to animals and compare your number to last month. Almost everyone slows down at about the 30-second mark, and the words you drag out of that second half are the ones actually doing the work. This is a seated drill, so the only real risk here is frustration. If your number is lower than you expected, that is information, and not a verdict, because one score on one morning means very little. If you find yourself getting genuinely upset during this drill, stop and switch to a category you love. like tools or flowers or football teams. And if your number drops sharply and stays down across several months, that is worth bringing to your doctor, rather than sitting with it alone. Pair this one with a conversation. Say your list out loud to another person in the room, rather than to an empty kitchen, because staying socially engaged is itself one of the protective factors the dementia research keeps identifying. One drill, two protective factors, the same 60 seconds. Now, everything so far has trained how your brain handles information. Not one of these 4 drills has trained the thing you are actually worried about, which is whether the memory is still there tomorrow. That is item number 1, and it is the 2 minutes almost nobody talks about. Item number 1 is 2 minutes long, and it is called expanding interval retrieval. Most people have never heard the name, and it is the most directly supported memory technique that exists for ordinary people at home. Here is the thing almost everybody has backwards about memory. People think memory is strengthened by putting information in, by reading it again, by looking at it one more time. It is not. Memory is strengthened by pulling information out, especially when the pulling is hard. Go back to the roads in your town. Reading something again is looking at a road on a map, while recalling it is driving the road yourself, and only driving keeps a road open. And here is the part that surprises people. The harder the drive, the more that road gets reinforced. If you pull the information out the instant after you put it in, the road was never really tested, and almost nothing gets built. This is one of the most repeated findings in the whole of memory research, and it has a name. It is called the testing effect. It has been demonstrated in laboratories for over 100 years, and in older adults specifically for decades. In rehabilitation settings, expanding interval retrieval is used with people who already have significant memory impairment, which tells you how sturdy it is. Here is exactly how to run your 2 minutes. Each morning, pick 3 things you genuinely need that day. Not random words, real things. For example, the pharmacy closes at 6. Call your sister back, and the blue folder is on the hall table. Say all 3 out loud once. Then look away, count to 10, and say all 3 again from memory. Then wait 30 seconds, do something else in that gap, wipe the counter, and say all 3 again. Then wait 2 minutes and say them again. Then wait 10 minutes and say them again. The gaps expand each time, and that expansion is the entire mechanism. Then, and this is the part everyone skips, recall all 3 one final time at bedtime, roughly 14 hours after you started. If one of them will not come, do not strain for more than about 10 seconds. Look it up, say it once, and start the clock again on that one item. This drill is completely safe for your body, and there is only one way to do it badly. Do not turn it into a test you are afraid of failing. If 3 items feels like too much, start with 2, and stay at 2 for a month before you add the 3rd. If you are having a rough day, use 2 items you already know well, because a successful run is worth far more than a hard one you abandon. Do not use this to check whether you are declining, because that is not what it is for, and it will only make you anxious. And if you are noticing real changes, getting lost on familiar routes, or asking the same question twice within an hour, that is a conversation for your doctor and not a drill. Now pair this with your sleep, and this is where it becomes powerful. A great deal of memory consolidation happens during deep sleep, when the day's material gets moved into longer-term storage. So that bedtime recall is not just one more repetition. It is you handing those 3 items to your brain right before the night shift starts work on them. Doing the drill in the morning and skipping the bedtime pass is like loading a truck and never sending it out. And this is what I promised you at the start. Everybody talks about puzzles, and almost nobody talks about retrieval, even though retrieval is the thing your independence actually runs on. Remembering whether you took the tablet, remembering where you parked the car, remembering the name of the man who came to fix the boiler. None of that is puzzle skill. All of it is retrieval. Puzzles are not memory training. Repetition is not memory training. Effortful recall is memory training. Consider a typical case documented in the rehabilitation literature. A 74-year-old woman living alone, still driving, still handling her own affairs. Over about 18 months, she had started writing everything down because she no longer trusted herself to hold a name or an appointment for more than a few minutes. Her daughter had begun calling twice a day with reminders, and both of them had quietly started to assume this was the beginning of the end of living alone. Her program was not complicated. 7 minutes, 5 mornings a week, exactly the 5 drills you have just heard. The retrieval work used real items from her own day rather than word lists, because word lists do not motivate anybody. She kept a single sheet of paper with her weekly numbers on the side of the refrigerator. Nothing else in her life changed. No new medication and no new diagnosis. By week 8, her category naming had gone from 11 animals in 60 seconds to 19. The letter crossing sheet had roughly doubled. But the change that mattered was not on the paper. It was that the twice-daily reminder calls dropped to 1 call and then to none because she was holding her own day again. So here is exactly what to do, and I want you to start tonight, not on Monday. 5 steps, and every one of them has a number in it. Tonight, step 1, write 3 things you need to remember for tomorrow on 1 piece of paper and say them out loud once before you turn off the light. Tomorrow morning, step 2, run the full expanding interval drill with those same 3 items at 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and 10 minutes. Do not skip the bedtime pass, because the recall 14 hours later is the one that does the work. Step 3, this week, choose your 7-minute slot and attach it to something you already do every single day. And for most people, that is the first cup of coffee. A habit tied to another habit survives, and a habit tied to good intentions does not. Same chair, same time, same order, 5 days a week. Step 4, this week, find your hallway and do 90 seconds of walking while counting backward from 100 by 3s with your hand near a wall. Do it 5 days, not 7, because 2 days off protects the habit from becoming a chore you resent. Step 5, within 30 days, book 2 appointments, 1 for your hearing and 1 for your eyes. Hearing loss is one of the largest changeable risk factors in international dementia research, and most people wait around 10 years before doing anything about it. If you already have hearing aids, get them checked and then actually wear them, because the pair sitting in a drawer protects nothing. A brain that cannot hear the conversation stops being invited into the conversation, and that is where a great deal of decline quietly begins. Those are your 5 steps, and the whole thing costs you 7 minutes a day and 2 phone calls. Think of someone in your life who has started writing everything down, or who has gone quiet in group conversations because following them takes too much effort. They are not going to search for this. Send it to them, because the person who needs it most is almost never the person looking for it. And tell me in the comments which of these you are starting tonight. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. And I mean that literally, because the most common answer becomes the next video. If you want the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover, subscribe to this channel. That is the whole mission here, and there is nothing else being sold. This video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Warren Hayes. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.